How is it going, YouTube? Today we will be installing the BroncBuster, I know they call it a BroncBuster Stage 3 steering kit. This goes on the passenger side of your Bronco steering rack. So Tyler did a great job of doing an install video. He did have the benefit of using a lift, which a lot of us don't. So I'm going to be just going through this install today and throwing it on in my garage floor. So as you can notice, I did already pull the wheel and tire off, but that is all I have done. I just have, this is actually just the tools I carry in my Bronco. I do have my impact there. I do have a breaker bar because I think one part is going to be a little bit tricky. Tyler recommends taking off the front skid plate. Well, I obviously have a different setup. So I've got the Lifestyle Off-Road front bumper with skid plate, and I mean I have all of our skid plates installed, so they're all the way back. I don't want to remove those because while it's not the worst thing, it probably would add an hour to this. So really the only reason you need to remove it is to get to this bolt in there. So we can see it. There's enough room. This sticks out enough that we can get to it. We're just gonna have to see if it's doable or not. So once we get there, which won't really be that long, we'll find out. But for right now, the first thing is we got to take this buster brace off. So I've just got to find that Allen wrench, and then it's the 8 bolts back here, which looks like I might be missing some, so that's kind of interesting. So I've got to get the right size Allen wrench and get those off. So I guess my job is made a little bit easier because I have 2 less bolts to get out, but also means I need to go get some of those. I would assume most people that are installing this piece onto their steering rack, you either have the buster brace, or you have a Heim joint setup, or some other type of support for the tie rods. It wouldn't really make sense to just have a bone stock setup and jump right to installing this piece on your steering rack. Get all these out. And really the biggest reason for removing this piece is because we have to get the tie rod boot right behind it to slide down, because we need to be able to get under and break the inner tie rod loose from the steering rack. My last bolt. Well, sometimes these have been on a while. They get up there. There you go, pry them apart. So pretty clean on the inside. And those other bolts didn't break off. They just must not have gotten them tight enough. Okay, so you have a clamp right here that you need to pop off. Pliers. Get that off. And I don't remember what the inner clamp looks like, but I will get under there in just a second. First, we're going to remove the tie rod nut, which I believe it's just a 21. Put that on our impact, get that popped off. And then gotta grab my hammer and we'll knock this to try and get the tie rod to pop up. Okay, so what you can do, and you might be able to see there's some marks. I've taken this all apart before to install my 2-inch lift, but all you have to do is take a hammer and knock this, the knuckle. Do not hit this, and it's never a bad idea to throw the nut back on there just to protect the threads, but just go ahead and knock it one time and get it to pop out. So my tie rod is now removed from the knuckle. So, and we didn't bang up the tie rod or anything. And these are my stock tie rods. I've never replaced those or needed to. And that's 27,000 miles with a decent amount of wheeling in there. Okay, so now we need to get this boot off. So it has the clamp on there, and I have no idea. I can't feel the clamp, like the end of it, I mean. Alright, I got a much bigger pry bar. Man, that clamp is something. You're not reusing this clamp. There we go. I think I got it. I got one part of it at least. Man, it's like everything is in my way right here. My skid plate is actually helping me. There we go. Oop, too much. Okay. So, I didn't really beat the boot up as much as I thought I might have been, but I did get it off of there. So, we can try and get the bolts out of the rack. Alright, so we have to remove the passenger side bolt, and we have to break loose the driver's side bolt. And as you can see, between my skid plate and the frame of the truck, I can just get in there. And this is threaded into the back of the rack. It's hard to see, but I'm not going to, you don't have to get a wrench on the back side. So I'm hoping I can break this side loose. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty tight. Tyler used an impact, but of course, because I don't want to remove my skid plate, I can't fit an impact in there. So, doing it the good old-fashioned way. There we go. Get a ratchet on it now. This was it's a 21 millimeter bolt. My socket says 22 because I don't have a 21. And I'm apparently not very coordinated. Okay, so I'm gonna get this off and move to the other side. Okay, I'm just going, I have that pretty much out. I'm coming over to the driver's side. I did spray that shiny part with some WD-40 just to try and help myself out a little bit. Okay, that was a struggle. This was really tight. I don't know how loose you need it, but I have it loosened up. Sorry, all you're really doing is loosening that enough so that you can get the other side to drop. Still need to finish getting that all the way out. You can see it's out quite a ways, so maybe I just need to pull on it. So I'm gonna get that out and then we'll get the tie rod off. Okay, I just about have that bolt out, and before I pull it out, I need to get that tie rod off. To make it easier, I'm gonna push this wheel in and compress this tie rod so that I have an easier access to that right there. So I just need to get a wrench on this and to turn it off. And apparently I need to buy a bigger wrench set. I do not have much for wrenches over 19 millimeter. And right now that's super annoying. Okay, gotta get this set down. Okay, had to go check Tyler's video quick. Looks like this needs to turn up. So the worst part about this is this only has 4 flat faces to turn it on. So I don't have, where the wrench is now, I don't have a ton of leverage. I think I got it. Didn't even hit my face. There we go. Okay. Now, because you're not breaking this jam nut loose, you should not need an alignment after this, which is nice. Really, installing any of Tyler's BroncBuster components, it doesn't require an alignment. Which, coming from working on lots of other different vehicles, with the exception of probably a Wrangler, so like independent, usually you do anything with the steering, you need to go get an alignment. So, like adding the buster braces and the bushing, it's the same on the other side. You just don't need to get an alignment afterwards, which is really, really cool. Now obviously it wouldn't hurt to get an alignment, but you actually can't get an alignment with the buster braces on. Those do need to be removed. Okay. Get the camera over here. Okay, so I am trying to get the rest of the bolt off. Oh, got it. Alright, there. I know my hand was kind of in the way, but now we can access all these torque screws. So as soon as that dropped down, I realized there's one torque screw in the back. So I will need to remove our front differential skid plate. Now that's pretty dang easy. It's just 4 bolts. So I'll get under here. So you can see 2 back there, 2 up here. And of course, I can never... Man, I'm missing a bolt there too. I don't know what's going on with this truck. Okay, now we have full access to everything. So right there is the bolts that we wouldn't have been able to get to otherwise. So that is what the steering rack looks like. Obviously it's dropped down. It should be up like that, but we have it dropped down. I'm gonna start zipping those T30 bolts off right now. Looks like here's one. Another. These are going to be a little more difficult to get to. Might need, looks like I gotta get some sort of extension. Okay, got a super extension on here. Still just enough power. So I thought he said 6 bolts come out of the front. Those 3 and the 2 on the ground is only 5. Oh, I got one over here. Okay, now I just need to get to the one in the back. Alright, this last one is going to be trickier to get to. It is right here. Oh. Okay, right there, right on my fingertip. So I have this kind of cool little extension thing so I can get up in there. Okay, and I could just get it off. So all the screws are out. Take all of these bolts are the same size, so just information. Okay, so now we just have to pry this off. You can see I just have my pry bar wedged in there. Okay. Should. There we go. Pretty good amount of sealant. Alright. So now I'm gonna have to clean this off. No, I don't have to clean this off. I gotta get these bushings out. I have to clean this side off. And then inspect this. It does. Mine doesn't look too bad. I am kind of surprised. So I've been to Tennessee a couple times, to Windrock Park. I've been to Moab, Utah. I do have a 2-inch lift. I do have 35-inch tall tires, which are factory. Tyler's obviously running much larger. But I have the bead locks, obviously. Bead locks on there. And those things add a lot of weight. So it does look, it's hard to tell if this is Let's run this rag over it. I mean, mine, I don't know, it looks pretty dang good. Let's check this. I am not really. There might be a little wear down here, but really, well, let's see. How does this sit? So it sits like that. So it looks like there might be a tiny bit of wear. It's hard to get in there, sorry. There might be a little bit on the very edges, but really, like, this seal looks great. Oh, there we go. There is some wear on the edge of that seal. Oh, okay. Looking in there, that seal is smushed all the way out. Try and get my camera in there. So it should be round. It's really hard to get an angle. So it's not on these sides, actually. The seal was rubbing, because I did get, if I had my front locker on, like when I was climbing like Hell's Gate, for example, I was getting a little bit of binding in my steering. Now that is pretty extreme as far as angles go, so I wasn't overly worried about it. But anyway, okay, so Tyler gives you this, BroncBuster does, sorry, in your kit. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. I'm going to cycle my steering through a couple times and clean it out really good, just to make sure I don't have any metal shavings in there, because I mean, I've made it a full year, 27,000 miles. Obviously, I'd love to be wheeling every weekend. That's just not a reality. But I've done more than I thought I would do with a vehicle that's brand new. It's over exceeded my expectations as far as off-road ability. So I really wanted to put this on just to make sure and help so that I don't break down. Because it doesn't matter how good of a four-wheeler you are, stuff breaks. Something happens to everybody. I guess I don't know if I can cycle this steering. I got it all the way in. Okay, I'm gonna have to try and slide that bolt in to hold the rack still and cycle the steering. Okay, so I got it cycled a couple times. I said I was going to put the bolt back in, but then walked over here realizing that's not something you can do. So it doesn't look like I have metal shavings, so I'm okay with that. I'm just going to get this all that grease cleaned off. Put a good layer of this on back on there. Just kind of make sure that worm gear pull some fresh new grease in there. So next I'm going to, I gotta get a razor blade and scrape off around there, and then we have to pound this bushing out so that we can put these in this. So yeah, let's get these knocked out. Okay, alright, so this has the threaded end in it, and then this is just a sleeve. So we're going to thread the bolt in here, and we're just going to hammer on this and try and get it to knock out. Just got to remember where I put that bolt. Oh, it's still in the truck. Alright, so that is a hefty bolt. Give it several threads in there. Find your hammer. Just give it a couple hits. It's starting to come out already. Now, I'm trying to be a little bit careful. Probably doesn't look like it. But this is a perfectly good piece still. Now, there is wear in that bushing, but this will get somebody home. So I want to save this, and I want to keep it in my truck. Because if I'm off-road with somebody else at the Bronco, I want to carry this and help somebody else be able to get home. So there's that side. Of course, now I got the bolt stuck. I'm just gonna knock the other side out. I'm gonna try something else. Put a socket in there. There we go. Tell you what, this does not want to come out. There we go. Okay, so this still looks okay. No cracks. A little sealant off there. Grease cleaned out. So we also do need to try and pull these two dowels out. I moved it. Holy cow. I don't know if this is going to be usable. There we go. Okay, it's just a little bit bent. So got one out. I'll fight with this other one and not make you sit through all that. Okay, so here's our old one, new one. I had to fight pretty good to get that out. We're gonna spray a little WD-40 all over the camera and the bushings, the threaded side, the square side, kind of like a square and rounded side. It's gonna go right here, right here. Tap those in. Maybe. One side in. Okay, so there we go. Got those in. Need to put these two dowels in. It looks like it goes down here and up here. little curious why this isn't just part of the new one, because I'm pretty sure these are just for placement. Man. Pretty sad if this is going to be the hardest part. Crooked, but there we go. I really didn't figure I was going to struggle on dowels. And of course my neighbor decided to mow the lawn halfway through this. Okay, finally, dowels in place, bushings on. I have to clean all my greasy, gross fingerprints off of this. So what I'm gonna do now, and this is just the way that I use RTV. I don't remember what Tyler did in the video. I like to let it sit for like 10 minutes and get tacky before I install it. So I learned this back when I used to build stand-up jet skis and would need like really good seals on things. You get your black RTV. Again, this is included in the kit, and we're gonna put a bead around it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And really all you're doing with this seal is keeping dirt out. So I get a bead around it, and then you just go around and you just dab at it. And so you give it like a uneven, like spiked texture all the way around. Now you want it to be even in the respect that you have about the same amount. I'm just gonna do this. And now I'm gonna give that a few minutes while I clean up that end to just kind of dry and tack up. But that should... I've never had a seal fail if I've taken the time to do this and then let it dry. Because once we start tightening down those bolts, it'll allow all of that to sink in and really give you a good seal. So, gotta find a razor blade and I'm gonna get that cleaned off. Okay, so all you want to do here is try and get a razor blade or whatever you can that's sharp up in here and clear it off as much of the gunk as you can. Okay, so I have that as clean as I can get it. And I'm going to go ahead and get this slapped on there. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to go ahead and get it all bolted up and show you the final product. Okay, I got the bolt back in. This time I was actually able to shove my little 12-volt ratchet in there and get that run in there, and then hand tightened it. I got all the 6 front bolts, the one back T30 bolt put in, and that is all in place. I got my wheel turned all the way this way. Now I just have to get this off and then install the worm drive clamp. These are the worst clamps ever. There we go. Got that off. I just gotta find my worm drive clamp and slap this back on. Okay, so I've had this kit for like 3 months, 2 months. Long story short, I lost my worm drive clamp and I don't have one. So we're going ghetto with zip ties. I can easily add in the clamp later. So this will be fine for now. I'm not doing anything. So get this tightened on as far as I can by hand. Cinch it down with a wrench. If anybody knows what wrench size that is, let me know in the comments, because I'm going to definitely be buying a more complete wrench set for all this stuff. Okay, so I got to get the boot slid over. Get the tie rod put in. Find the tie rod nut, because it fell off, of course. Impact. Zip this on. Okay, so now I'll get this boot slid over. My lovely zip ties tightened up. I'm not gonna have any way to cut these things. Well, the top one at least. It's actually on there pretty good for some zip ties. Okay, so there's the under view. Got the brand new stage 3 section of the housing. So in combination, there's a Delrin bushing installed on the driver's side. The Bronc braces, Buster braces. Man, stumbled with that one. That one's missing a bolt too. I'm gonna have to put some thread locker in those. So that's installed on that side. And I got this. So my steering should be pretty dang good to go. Overall, it wasn't very difficult. By far the most difficult thing was that I didn't want to take the steering or the skid plate off, which that's my own fault, but even then I was able to do it. So okay, sorry, dog was barking. Overall this was pretty easy. Still gotta put this clamp on and really throw my skid plate on the wheel. And that's about it. This took me about an hour and a half, maybe a little more with cleanup. So pretty easy project to do on your floor in your garage. Yeah, let me know what you think.